Every mountain town has one house that locals never mention. This is the story of a couple who spent one night in that house, and only one of them came back down the stairs. What they found inside still doesn't have an explanation.
TheSpiritVox, it's alive.
Nathan and Claire had been coming to the same mountain town every autumn for 6 years. They always stayed at the same little guest house at the edge of the woods, the one with the creaky porch swing and the smell of pine smoke drifting from the chimney. This year, for the first time, there was no room for them. They stood outside the old stone chapel in the town square as the sky turned orange, arguing quietly about whose fault it was that they hadn't called ahead. Claire had asked Nathan 3 separate times to check the booking. He hadn't. Now the sun was dropping behind the ridge, and they had nowhere to sleep. That was when the old man appeared. He must have been standing near the church fence the whole time, close enough to hear every word. He was tall, thin, and moved slowly, like a man used to walking alone. "Forgive me for intruding," he said, his voice soft and a little rough like gravel under snow. "My name is Walter. I keep a guest house just past the old mill. If you'd like, you're welcome to stay the night. If you don't care for it, there's a proper inn in the next town by morning." Claire looked at Nathan. Nathan looked at their heavy bags, and at the darkening road ahead of them, and at the kind, tired face of the old man standing in front of them. Something about him felt harmless, grandfatherly, even. They said yes. Walter's house sat back from the road, half hidden behind a wall of old pine trees, the kind of place you would drive past 100 times without noticing. Inside, it smelled like cedar and old paper. A fire was already lit in the front room, though Walter insisted he hadn't been expecting guests. As they walked down the hallway to their room, Claire's eyes caught on a large framed photograph hanging on the wall. A woman, young and radiant, sat tall on the back of a white horse. She wore a red riding jacket, and her hair, long and dark, was caught mid-toss by the wind, spilling almost to her waist. She was laughing directly at the camera, like whoever took the photo had just said something wonderful. "That was my wife," Walter said quietly from behind them, and Claire startled, not having heard him approach. "I took that picture myself, right up on the ridge behind the house. We were only married a few months then." He didn't say anything else about her. He didn't have to. There was a stillness in the way he said "was" that told Claire everything she needed to know. After a quiet dinner of stew and bread, exhaustion finally caught up with them. It had been a long day of driving, and neither of them wanted to think any harder about beds, or old photographs, or grieving old men. They said goodnight to Walter, climbed the narrow staircase to the 2nd floor, and let the door close behind them. Claire fell asleep almost instantly. Years of back pain meant she never slept with a pillow under her head, and tonight was no different. Nathan, however, stayed awake a little longer, answering a few emails on his phone before finally letting his head sink into the pillow beside her. That was when it started. At first it was barely noticeable, a strange heaviness at the back of his neck, like the pillow was somehow pressing back against him instead of just cushioning his head. Every time he began drifting towards sleep, he felt it again, stronger, something pulling gently downward through the pillow toward the mattress beneath it. He told himself it was exhaustion, a long drive, a stiff neck, nothing more. But as the night wore on, the pulling became undeniable. It wasn't just his neck anymore. He could feel it in his shoulders, his back, like invisible hands were slowly working his entire body downward, sinking him into the bed itself. Somewhere in the deep hours before dawn, a fever hit him hard and fast. His skin burned, his thoughts scattered. He began muttering things that made no sense, words tumbling out of him without meaning. Claire woke to the sound of his voice, disoriented and afraid, and reached over to touch his shoulder. It was ice cold, despite the sweat soaking through his shirt. She didn't wait to think. She threw off the blanket and ran for the stairs, calling out for Walter into the dark house. Behind her, in the room she'd just left, something was pulling Nathan's head down through the pillow, inch by inch, like it was being fed into the mattress from underneath. Claire reached the bottom of the stairs and turned into the hallway, expecting to find the same 4 doors she remembered from earlier that evening. Instead, the hallway kept going. Door after door lined the walls, more than she remembered, more than the house could possibly have room for. Each one she pushed open revealed nothing but pitch darkness, a black so complete it felt like it was swallowing the light from the hall behind her. Her heart was pounding now, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps. She turned in a slow circle, trying to find the front door, the fireplace, anything familiar. That was when she saw the photograph again. The frame was the same, the white horse was the same, but the woman was gone. The saddle sat empty, the reins hanging loose, as though whoever had been riding it had simply stepped out of the picture and walked away. Claire's scream tore through the silent house.
Walter, someone, please. We need a doctor. Walter, where are you?
No answer came. Then, faintly from somewhere behind the house, she heard it. A low, broken sound. Someone crying. Claire followed the sound through a back door standing wide open to the night air. Moonlight spilled across the yard, cold and pale, lighting up the grass like frost. And there in the middle of that pale light lay a body. An elderly woman, unclothed, lying perfectly still on the grass. Her face was calm, almost peaceful, without a single mark of pain or fear. But her head was completely bare. Not a single strand of hair remained anywhere on her scalp. Beside the body knelt Walter, his shoulders shaking, tears running freely down his weathered face. Around him, scattered across the grass, lay long strands of silvery white hair, catching the moonlight like threads of spun glass. He was gathering them, one handful at a time, and pressing them into a pillowcase resting in his lap. New guests always do this, he murmured, not even looking up at Claire. The moment she sees someone new arrive, she comes down off that horse to make sure they're comfortable. She always was proud of her hair, you know, prouder of it than anything else she owned. He looked up at Claire then, his eyes hollow with grief. When the cancer took it from her, strand by strand, she saved every piece that fell out. She wove them into pillows so she'd never really lose them. She's still doing it, even now. He finished filling the pillowcase and pressed it gently into Claire's shaking hands. "Your husband didn't sleep with a pillow of his own tonight," he said quietly. She noticed. Claire climbed the stairs slower than she had ever climbed anything in her life, the pillowcase heavy and warm in her arms. She pushed open the bedroom door. Nathan's body lay exactly where she'd left it, still and silent on the bed. But where his head should have been, there was only the pillow, undisturbed, ordinary, and utterly still. Whatever had been pulling him downward all night had finished its work. There was no head above the pillow at all. If you ever find a guest house that isn't on any map and a kind old stranger offers you a room for the night, bring your own pillow. Like and subscribe if you made it to the end, and tell us in the comments about the strangest place you've ever spent the night. We're always listening.